Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, welcoming Billy Ray Cyrus, who is still the king. I say that because he has a TV show called Still the King premiering on CMT June 12th, 9/8 Central. Check it out. Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade. So for the last 5 minutes, Billy Ray Cyrus and I have figured out that I may be his long-lost son between the matching jeans, me having a mullet when I was young, and you telling me that you may have been part Jewish in a past life. This is crazy.
I am. I still am. That's right.
You're Jew, Billy. How crazy.
That's right. Yeah, I'm part Pentecostal, part Jewish.
There are no Jews in like the Bible Belt though.
But the Bible there is.
This is true.
As in,
As you were telling me, Cyrus, I forgot, biblical figure and last name. How crazy. I may be your long lost son.
Pretty crazy.
Could be Miley, Arthur.
I think we're related.
Dude, congratulations, by the way. Brand new show, Still the King, new single. You're having a good old time right now.
Having a big time.
Tell me about the show, because I watched the first 4 episodes. I was laughing. It's a lot of fun.
Good. Did you laugh?
I did laugh. I liked it. Cause I especially like the parts with you being the preacher and all the hijinks you get into. Pretty crazy. How's this whole show come about?
Long story short, my grandfather was a Pentecostal preacher and was raised there in his church. He died when I was 12. And that background, leading into then my career takes off. I find myself touring around the world. Obviously, there became a lot of connections. Even Johnny Cash had written me a letter that said I reminded him of his good friend Elvis Presley, and there was a lot of Elvis connections at that time. Well, years later, as I'm reinventing out of Hannah, Montana, going, okay, I've reinvented before, but I'm not exactly for sure how to reinvent out of this because it may be time to just go to the barn. You know what I mean? But it kind of hit me. I was on tour down in the South. We stopped the gas up one night at midnight. I got my dog off the bus to go for a walk, and there was an old dilapidated Pentecostal church, and it was falling down. And I look in the background. There was the place where Elvis played the old Elvis Hayride. And I go, wait a minute, a dysfunctional Elvis impersonator who lies his way into that church as the preacher. And I pointed to the church. My dog was looking at me as I was crazy, going, that church. And I got on the bus immediately, and when I write a song, it comes really fast, and the words and the melody, it all comes really quick. And I just started writing down. I called it Nash Vegas, and I started writing down a dysfunctional Elvis impersonator who lies his way into the church as a preacher, finds out he has a 15-year-old daughter he never knew he had, and boom, that was kind of the beginning.
So you've had such a fascinating career, man. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so I remember the achy, breaky heart phenomenon. You have possibly the biggest song on the planet. Then you recreate yourself through Hannah, Montana. What a unique career. Now with this, when you envisioned your career spanning out, is this how you envisioned it?
Well, you got to keep in mind, my first reinvention was coming out of Achy Breaky Heart. Luckily, my dad had said to me, son, I think, you got all your eggs in one basket. I think you ought to branch out into acting. And I said, Dad, but I've never had an acting class. I've never done a play. I don't know it. He said, I'm sure it's just like anything else. You just start. You'll learn. And I went to L.A. do some dates, and I saw that David Lynch was casting for Mulholland Drive. And I love David Lynch. I thought, man,
I forgot you were in that.
Yeah, Gene the Pool Man.
Holy cow, I forgot you were in Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, crazy, yeah. So I go, okay, so I'm going to see. Dad said I should get into acting. I'll see what happens. So I take a meeting, met David Lynch. He did the meeting, and they hired me. And it was on that set that David Lynch said, you could be an actor, man. It's just about being real. So right on the heels of that came my first series, Doc. And Doc was a doctor from Montana, oddly Montana, who moves to New York City, and he's a fish out of water in the big city. That series goes 4 years and filmed in Toronto, but took place in New York City. I come out out of that and go, I'm never going to do another series. I kind of lost my life for a little bit, especially my musical life. And, you know, I love being on tour. I love being in the band. That's what I love, you know, most of all is being with, you know, musicians and making music. And I'm a singer-songwriter first and foremost at heart. So never going to do another series. Well, along comes Hannah Montana. And I go, wow, this might be something really special here. And it could
this could be the next decade of my life.
It could be. More importantly, I was thinking, man, what if Miley, at this point, what if she needed you to be her dad? What if the show, what if she needed, I said, okay, I'll pray about it. And whatever's meant to be, that's the way I do life. I pray about it, and whatever's meant to be, I pray that unfolds. So I said, I'll take the meetings, and I'll go do it. Lo and behold, so that we're cast to do, you know, Hannah Montana. Her character was called Kylie, but because they had cast me as her father, day one of filming that thing, I just kept calling her Miley. And they stopped at one point. They stopped during the first scene. They said, hold it, break. I thought somebody was going to cuss me out. They said, hold it, break. Everybody on scripts, anything that says Kylie is now changed to Miley. Now, whew, oh, great, man, because I cannot get that Kylie thing right. I look back on it and go, wait a minute, wonder if I think that was maybe one of the pinnacle moments. That was a crossroads because it would have just been completely different if Hannah Montana would have been Kylie. But there was something so real about her being Miley, and I think that was a bit of the magic of the show.
When Achy Breaky Heart hits, I've interviewed every country artist under the sun. You guys are probably the least fame-driven genre of everybody. It's the most just humble community of singers ever. Yeah. But that song, this was pre-internet age, pre-social media. I can't even imagine what it would have been today. But you're the biggest star on the planet for a moment. What's that like? You're living in that moment. What's that like?
So you used the word fame, and we're talking, obviously, about
mega fame.
Fame. And just this morning, I got a text from Miley, and I said, you know, I was just taking a picture. I bought her a shirt while I was here, and it's this wonderful photograph of David Bowie. And I said, I was just taking this picture to send to you. She said, send it, Daddy. I sent her, I love it. And said that in her own Miley way, you know. And, oh, wow, I can't believe this picture. I love this. And so you talk about fame, you know, and it's, you know, man, that's a dangerous thing, you know. Be careful what you ask for, you know what I mean? You might just get it.
Was it scary at the time? Was it overwhelming?
No, never. No, I've been kind of like born to do this. I hate to say that, but I do think that for me, this was my purpose through buying a guitar and being a singer, songwriter, and now becoming an actor. You know, I feel like this was part of my purpose.
Did it help prepare you as a father? You have a daughter who's now become one of the biggest pop stars on the planet. Did it help prepare you as a father to help prepare her for what to deal with?
You know, in some ways, you know, again, I play everything by ear and pray that what's meant to be transpires. But in some ways, Miley was born into my circus. As a matter of fact, the day Kurt Cobain died, who I cared about deeply, I wrote a poem that came to me like a song called The Circus. And it's kind of about what we do as entertainers, and we come to town and we put up that circus and we live this moment in the spotlight, but when the lights go down, again, we've all heard that, you know, when the lights go down, you take the big tent down and you're just alone. Miley was born into this circus, and then being surrounded by, my gosh, a little girl that comes down to the kitchen and there sits Waylon Jennings at the kitchen table. And I just bought her a guitar, and she comes, Waylon, will you show me the chords to Good-Hearted Woman? You know, or Johnny Neal, the fabulous keyboard player, Alan Woody, bass player for Government Mule, George Jones. George Jones took me from my house to drive me to meet Johnny Cash. So Miley was a little girl living in this house, seeing this stuff go on. Carl Perkins, he was the first that really started hanging out at the farm And Carl Perkins and me and Miley went for a walk one day. She must have been 4 or 5 years old. And just walking and hearing the greatness of a guy like Carl Perkins and talking about lessons of life and music, and make your music because you love it, not because you have to. Be passionate. Don't chase the dog's tail. Be real. That's what Carl Perkins said. That's what Waylon said. Miley overheard these conversations, and I do think some of that has resonated into a bit of her spirit, just a little bit.
When you look at country music today, it's such a different animal than when Achy Breaky Heart was ruling the charts. I mean, you have everybody from when Taylor Swift was doing country to now the Dierks Bentleys of the world, and Eric Churches. I mean, guys who have become rock stars who are selling out arenas. What are your thoughts on country music today and where it's going?
Well, I think back to Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers. They kind of kicked the door open, with Islands in the Stream. And both, again, parlayed their music into television and film. Johnny Cash did the same thing. I mean, as my dad would put it, don't have all your eggs in one basket, And I think the diversity is good. And I think that country music is in a really great spot right now because it is so diverse. There's a lot of talent out there. There's a lot of great artists, a lot of great writers. And, for me to be, just right side by side with CMT again.
As you're going to be performing at the awards.
Oh, yeah. But there are partners with Still the King. We couldn't have found a better home for this show. Still the King belonged with CMT. They brought in a team of people to surround my layman thoughts as being the hillbilly that I am, and surrounded me with great writers and great producers and directors and a real team to make the machine run, and they're the heart and soul of country music right now. I love being where I'm at, doing what I'm doing, and this role that I'm playing feels like a role that I was just born to play. My whole life kind of led to this moment.
I love how there's certain autobiographical things with obviously him having the mega star. Obviously, I don't think you went to jail and became a fake preacher, but I love the beginning part of it because there's some Billy Ray Cyrus components in there. How much of it was autobiographical?
Well, there's some realism to a lot of it, and we do use, some satires of a little bit of real life, including the opening you mentioned. You may notice.
And there's a moment, by the way, sorry to interrupt, I've got to tell everybody. I hate to give it away, but you're in the car with your daughter and a song comes on. I won't say which song, but everybody can probably figure out what song. And your comment is, this song is great, and her reaction is flat. I'm like, this is awesome.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. The opening that you talked about, you may have noticed the legend Randy Travis is the sheriff.
Yep.
And he finds me naked and drunk in a creek. Like, there's a little bit of art imitating life, imitating art there, And the fact that he chases me in that police car, and at the end of the take, man, he came and high-fived me, and he said, man, thank you, man, for sending me the script. It's so good to be on this side of the law. And there's just a lot of things that we draw from in real life that we've parlayed into Vernon and Still the King and our cast, which is absolutely tremendous. You may have noticed my parole officer, played by Kevin Farley. Yep. A brilliant, brilliant actor that's one of the funniest men I've ever been around in my life.
Having been famous for so long, because obviously with this character, he loses himself. He's a train wreck. Do you ever have moments in your life where it was, because you're such a humble dude, just being in your company, you're like the most laid-back, normal human being, but having been famous for so long, were there ever moments where that fame could overcome you and you could lose yourself?
Oh, I'll be, completely honest and say, my journey has not been easy, You go back to, my parents got divorced when I was 5 years old. Again, my grandfather, my Papa Cyrus, was the preacher of Flatwoods, Kentucky. There was one Pentecostal church, and he was the preacher. He had done all the weddings and all the funerals. Well, all of a sudden, my family, my mom and dad got divorced. I was the only one at my school that's parents had got divorced. I realized early on that life ain't fair. And as life goes on, it's peaks and valleys. It's highs and lows. And, probably a whole lot more lows than highs, if I can be honest with you and tell you that I failed way more times than I ever succeeded. I mean, just way more times. But as Thomas Edison said, failure is the most important ingredient for success. Every time you fail, you eliminate one way that won't work. Therefore, you're one way closer to the one way that will. Failure is so important for success. You can't have success without it.
Well, ebbs and flows. It looks like the flow's happening right now. Performing at the CMTs, new show on CMT. Congratulations, man, on everything. You're a
really
great
excited.
interview, by the way. I
Thank you,
love
man.
your story. So
Thanks.
everybody make sure to check out Billy Ray Cyrus's new show on CMT, Still the King. The man is still the king.